Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a Christmas week snowstorm and even snow for parts of the south, along with the Arctic Vortex as the Siberian Express plunges from Siberia all the way to Mexico. So first of all, I wanted to apologize. I'm losing my voice and I don't really feel so well, but I'm going to get through this video because I do have some important information to share. So let's take a look at the overall setup on the 500 millibar over the week ahead, and we're going to see this PNA start to go positive here. That's going to put a lot of the warmer conditions along with blocking up here in Greenland and Alaska. That's going to plunge all the Siberian air that's building up here throughout the week next week, all the way down into the deep south, into Mexico, across the southeast, into the east. So a much colder conditions are on the way. But for today, here's the snow and how it's all going to unfold for the rest of the day. A lot of clearing down to the south, but we are going to still dealing with that snow, that all the heavier snows. Portions of South Dakota picked up like 3 feet of snow in Deadwood, South Dakota, and it's still snowing in parts of the Dakotas, into Minnesota, into Wisconsin, and back into Michigan. They had that ice storm into Maryland and over Pennsylvania. A lot of the heavier snows have moved in and moved further north into Vermont and New Hampshire. It's all rain along the coast, but it's snowing big time in Maine. And we also have the lake effect that has come back. For Buffalo, we're talking another 18 inches to 24 inches in Buffalo, as the lake effect snow is going to be cranking for them again. And up here in Watertown, again, another foot to possibly 18 inches just over the next 24 hours. But as we go into tomorrow, we are going to have a little disturbance further down to the south. Sorry, I apologize. I don't really feel so well. We are going to have a disturbance a little bit further to the south, would bring some rain showers along the coastal regions, but we are going to have some snow kind of breaking out to the north into the northern plains along the upper Great Lakes here. But there's the heavier snow that's really going to continue to fall in Vermont and New Hampshire and pretty much the entire state of Maine, and that's on tomorrow. And then as we go into Sunday, that snow continues to crank well to the north, while we do have that little disturbance further to the south in Florida with some heavier rain showers. But as we go into Monday, things start to get interesting because a lot of that colder air that's been building up in Siberia and then plunging south into Canada, it's going to be starting to enter portions of the US. So by the time we get into Monday, we're going to have some more snow starting to break out into Iowa, into portions of Missouri here, into Illinois. And then there's some of the colder temperatures, not really Arctic air yet, but it is definitely on the way. But it's still plenty cold, even on Monday, across a good chunk of the US. And this is just what's to come of a massive plunge in temperatures are going to be taking effect on Thursday. So as we transfer into Wednesday, there's the snow. As that colder air continues to press south, that'll put a blanket of snow across the north into Montana and parts of the Dakotas, more snow in Minnesota again. And that snow line starts to creep further and further south into portions of Kansas. And there's the temperatures as we go into Wednesday. This is your actual temperatures as we go into Wednesday afternoon. There's these first signs of that true Arctic air that we've been talking about for a long time is starting to enter the US with those teens below zero temperatures. So you're going to start to really feel this front in a big way, and those single digits reach all the way down into Kansas by Wednesday. And there's the snow line. So as we transfer into Thursday, as that cold air continues to plunge south, that'll bring the snow line further south as well into portions of Oklahoma, getting much of Missouri now, into Illinois, into Indiana, as well as Kentucky. And you start to see the initial effects starting to creep across into portions of Texas. They start to see some of that transfer over to some mixed precipitation as we get through the day on Thursday. But there's the sign of that Arctic air as it continues to plunge from the north to the south. These are about 6 o'clock temperatures on Thursday. These are actual temperatures, folks, all below zero in purple here extending all the way into Kansas, into Missouri, into Illinois, single digits. In Oklahoma City, we're talking 8 degrees. We're talking 18 degrees. This is some very cold stuff on the way as we get into Thursday afternoon for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 26 degrees in Houston. You can start to see the true Arctic front where it's still 49 in Ohio, but it's 3 degrees in Indiana. So that's the contrast of this sharp temperature gradient, and it's going to bring a lot of wind with it. So easily, as this front passes, it's going to have some 40, 50, some 60-mile-per-hour winds with it, and you're going to feel this in a big way. In fact, look at some of the feels like temperatures as we go into 6 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Bam. I mean, guys, this is going to be a true Arctic blast with dangerous wind chills back behind it. 40, 50 below zero feels like is definitely not out of the question, as it's 8 below in Oklahoma City. It drops to near zero into the afternoon into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, feels like. So you can definitely see 30 below zero feels like in Illinois on Thursday afternoon, 18 below, but it's still at 40 in Ohio. So that's the contrast, right? So as that cold air presses, it brings the snow with it. So it's going to have a cross-polar flow from the northwest to the southeast, and it's going to bring all the snow to the north, through the mid-Atlantic, through the Ohio Valley, and really start getting going on Friday into the northeast as a powerful low pressure center will start to form. But that snow line should even creeps as far south as Kentucky, into Tennessee, and even parts of the south as well, into northern portions of Mississippi, northern portions of Alabama, into Georgia, through the Carolinas. North Carolina is going to see some snow out of this deal by the time we get into Friday, as that Arctic air really continues to press. And as it does, we're going to have a powerful low pressure center. Here's the overall ensemble guidance on the European guidance, the EPS ensembles. A definite bona fide low pressure starting to form off the East Coast. That's a 970 millibar range. That's indicative of, could be possibly even a blizzard by then happening into the Northeast. At the same time, on Friday morning, again, that colder air continues to press south. I mean, this is where it gets really cold. I mean, some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in December in a long time, folks. Single digits in Oklahoma, 11 degrees in Dallas, 16 in Houston. I mean, even all the way to Mexico, guys. I mean, that's 25 degrees in Brownsville. That's a hard freeze for the entire state of Texas. 11 degrees in Shreveport. This is some serious stuff, and that cold air continues to press, and now it will shift east. Again, we're going to have a positive PNA, so I'm not expecting much of the West to get hit with this Arctic blast. It's pretty much going to be in the central and eastern 2/3 of the U.S. And then as we go into Saturday, there's the temperatures. I mean, again, the entire state of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, single digits. I mean, that's pretty rare stuff. 33 below zero in North Dakota. We're still at 12 in Dallas and 16 in Georgia. I mean, this is some very cold stuff, and even 21 degrees in the Florida Panhandle, with those negative numbers starting to creep into the mid-Atlantic. So I mean, no one really escapes this really cold air except for areas out west. So as we get into that Friday afternoon, Friday night time frame going into Saturday, there's that low pressure center going to be off the East Coast, and it's going to be cranking the snow, guys. I mean, it's going to be really, compounding in a big way. And this is right near Christmas. So all these areas in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut and Vermont, New Hampshire, and the Maine, we're going to be looking at some double digits, even some 2 feet snow amounts. Is definitely not out of the question with this type scenario as we get into Friday, Saturday time frame, and it's going to continue to press that colder air for Christmas morning. As you wake up for Christmas morning, I mean, look at everybody that's below zero. That's Iowa, that's Minnesota, that's a good chunk of Illinois and Indiana and parts of Missouri here. All these areas are below zero temperatures. It's still in the teens. For Oklahoma, it's still 20 in Dallas. So you can definitely see it's a long, at least 3 days cold spell for a good chunk of Texas into Louisiana and much of the southeast, and even Florida is not going to miss. I mean, how often do you see a 16 degrees in the Florida panhandle for Christmas morning? That is some cold stuff, guys, for sure. And even in the East Coast, you're not going to miss out on this deal with some very colder conditions. And here's some snow amounts. So we'll go over all the ensemble guidance. Here's the latest Canadian guidance between now and Christmas. So again, it's going to have a cross-polar flow. So we're going to have our northern intermountain west going to have some heavier snows with it, but most of the snow is going to be in the central and eastern 2/3 with very heavy snow really cranking out for the northeast. Like I mentioned, we could be picking up in some of these areas upward to 2 to maybe 3 feet of snow between now and Christmas. And even parts of the south is not going to get left out on this deal. You should get at least some snow flurries between now and Christmas morning. And here's the latest European ensemble guidance as well, basically kind of implying the same thing on the European. And here's the latest GFS guidance as well, again kind of implying the same thing. So I really broke up on from west to central and to the eastern states. Here's the overall blend. This is the blend of all the models to give you kind of a true assessment how much snow could potentially fall between now and Christmas morning, with a lot of the heavier snows in the far northern areas of the Intermountain West. You can definitely see these snow amounts are pretty healthy as we get into the central states, about 4 to 6 inches. And then as we move into the central areas, through the Dakotas, through Minnesota, a good swath of 6 to 12 inches is definitely not out of the question. We go through Iowa, we go through Missouri, into Illinois, into Kentucky. A good 4 to 6 inches is definitely pretty conservative, but that gives you an overall assessment of how much snow could potentially fall in a lot of these areas, even for the south, as that colder air presses all the way into Texas. It's going to be swinging across to the east. So yes, definitely not out of the question. You could be picking up some, at least, snow into portions of Oklahoma. Some parts of Texas could see some snow, and even parts of the southeast could see some snow out of this deal between now and Christmas. But mainly the very, very heavy snow is going to be up here in the northeast. So you've already had some pretty good snow with this first initial snowstorm. This is now between now and Christmas morning with a good swath of all these areas in white there of over 2 feet of snow. So you're going to be really compounding. And even along the coast there, again, 4 to 6 inches is definitely not out of the question. Look how far south the snow goes, all the way down into the deep south. You can't rule out at least some snow in some of these areas, as a lot of the blend is kind of hinting at some snow flurries could fall at least in some of these areas down into the southeast. So I appreciate you guys watching. I am taking some medicine. Hopefully I get better tomorrow, because it's going to be a very busy week on the weather front. I'm going to be active on social media with all the Instagram and Facebook and Twitter with all this huge Arctic blast that's coming in next week. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for being patient on this video, and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.